As a politician, I am profoundly disappointed. As a Canadian, a taxpayer, I am profoundly disappointed. As a former prosecutor, it stinks. It involved criminality. It involves theft. It involves forgery. It involves fraud. When prosecuted, Madam Speaker, people will be going to prison. Whenever it gets too hot, gets too close to the real truth, they just shut down committees, they shut down debate, they prorogue Parliament. They have an arsenal of tools that prevent Canadians from seeing the light with respect to this rot in this particular government. Scandal after scandal after scandal, ethical breaches. This is the Prime Minister, the only Prime Minister in Canadian history, Madam Speaker, who's been found guilty not once but twice of ethical breaches. Not only himself, several ministers, several other members of the government. We have the We Charity scandal, we had the Aga Khan scandal, we had the SNC-Lavalin scandal, the list goes on and on and on. And then when it was discovered over a year ago that this app that was so essential to the government to keep Canadians safe was a complete joke. It was highly ineffective, it was not scientific, and to make matters worse, it cost the Canadian taxpayers $54 million. We didn't hear a peep from this government. We didn't hear anything from this Prime Minister with respect to that price tag until it was revealed to Canadians, until it was revealed in this House. And then what did we hear from the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister used this quote, "Well, I think that cost is highly illogical and it reflects inefficient practices." So he, in essence, conducted his own review. And what the review showed, and what the Auditor General is certainly looking into, and now the RCMP, is given the vast size of this public service, which has increased exponentially by this Liberal government, particularly during COVID and beyond, they could not find their own consultants to find individuals to create this app, and more importantly, to the current investigation by the RCMP into the app that was contracted for by a very small software company in Montreal, Quebec, known as Bottler. No, they couldn't do it themselves. They had to hire consultants. And what has been revealed, Madam Speaker, is 3 such consultants, and I'm going to name them because I think it's important for Canadians to know what these individuals have done in terms of fleecing the Canadian taxpayers. We have 3 companies, GC Strategies, Delayan Enterprises, and Coridex. The latter 2 essentially involve the same directors, the same CEOs, 3 companies, grand total of maybe 6, maybe 7 employees, and they're hired by this massive government to do the work that they should be doing themselves in terms of finding individuals to perform the work. And they do that at a substantial premium. That premium is anywhere from 30 to 40%. So when Canadian taxpayers take a look at the situation, they're saying to themselves, we're already paying our taxes for the public service. Why do we need to waste further money to have this government find software engineers in this country? So I applaud the bravery of this small software company known as Bottler, because they spoke the truth. And I want to quote a couple of passages as reported in the Globe and Mail, Madam Speaker. They understood that speaking out could mean that federal funding would dry up and that they're taking a big risk without knowing how it will turn out. But one of the directors said the issue is wider than their company. This is something that affects every single Canadian, every single taxpayer dollar that is taken from very hardworking Canadians who are already struggling financially, that is given and spent through contractors through improper means. And I think that Canadians have a right to know what's going on with their hard-earned money. When I attended about a week and a half ago at committee during a constituency break week, it was revealed by the Auditor General, the same Auditor General that oversees all public spending and reports to this House. It was revealed that she had no clue, no idea that the RCMP were investigating criminality with respect to the contracting of the ArriveCan app and other such apps. And when I asked her, as the Auditor General, did the government notify you in advance of you learning about this particular investigation? Her answer was no. She was profoundly disappointed, her words, disappointed in the actions of this government in not notifying her of a very relevant, essential part of her investigation. That it's not just perhaps ethical issues or improper awarding of contracts. There's now a criminal element to it. And when I brought to her attention, Madam Speaker, that according to Bottler, this wasn't just misconduct at the highest level of the senior bureaucracy in this government. It involved criminality. It involves theft. It involves forgery. It involves fraud. When prosecuted, Madam Speaker, people will be going to prison 2+ years for fraudulently fleecing the Canadian taxpayer. That's why not only is my colleague profoundly disappointed, I am sick over this. This is the government that is not accountable. This is the government that's not transparent. And after that damning evidence came out, what did the Liberal NDP coalition do? They shut down the committee. This was a 2-hour meeting agreed to by every member of Public Accounts, and they shut it down. They say the reason was the Auditor General couldn't share any further information. That was the furthest from the truth. Members of the Conservative team on that committee were just getting started. We had much more probing questions. They're out hiding something, Madam Speaker, and Canadians have a right to know that. That's why I'm putting on the record this criminality on behalf of this government. And that's why I raised today in the House and asked the question, will this government, will this Prime Minister cooperate with the RCMP, or will he continue to hide behind cabinet confidentiality?